heading the Siemens Energy Innovation Center in Abu Dhabi. Siemens Energy is one of the world's most valued energy companies dedicated to transform the future of sustainable energy. The Abu Dhabi Innovation Center sits at the forefront of expediting technology growth through partnerships and technology collaborations in the region. Dr. Fahad holds a bachelor degree in engineering from Virginia Commonwealth University in the United States. He also has a Master's of Business Administration from the American University of Dubai, as well as a master's degree in energy supply chain management from Cambridge University and a PhD from Brunel University in UK. Sir, you have done a lot of work. Brilliant. 20 years, excellent. Well, and they hosted us yesterday where their team sat and they listened to the young people who were gathered from across the planet, inspiring them, but even more importantly, listening. So powerful. Dr. Fahad, thank you for sharing a few words to start us off today.
The podium. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fahad Al-Yafi'i, and I'm from Abu Dhabi. It's so refreshing to be addressing a crowd that's not in suits or national dresses, because I truly believe that the change that we want in the energy transformation, in this, what they call it, the fight against the climate change, will happen through you, the younger generations. I want to make this very, very informal. So I want to start with some show of hands. Who calls the UAE or Dubai home among you? So what I heard is you guys are representing pretty much the whole globe. So we have more than 200 countries. Dubai hosts 200 nationalities who call Dubai home as well. Globalization and climate change come hand in hand because it's an effort that requires everyone to participate. Is it policymakers? Is it industries? Is it the youth, universities, or all of the above? And the answer is all of the above. And I want to make some personal connections here. So I was born and raised in Abu Dhabi. I call Abu Dhabi home. 20 years ago, this was our winter, and we used to wear winter clothes this time of the year. Now, I don't have other colors. It's white all around the year. We used to have thick wool clothes, no longer there. 20 years ago, it used to rain. So my winter growing up, when I was your age, winter was all about rain. Now we do cloud seeding, so artificial rain, and we are lucky if we get natural rain once every 2 to 3 years. So these are real changes. But where is the challenge? There are two challenges. I am from an oil and gas country. And when I hear the narration out there and they talk about this renewables, immediately what I feel is people assume that we can stop using oil and gas and move into renewables. But that's very short-sighted because that's not possible. Again, in a barrel of oil, what percentage is for transportation? Guesses? 50%, 70%, 80%, and when I say transportation, cars, trucks, maritime, and so on and so forth. Give me a number. 70? 17. 40. Exactly. 40% of a barrel is for transportation, which means 60%, where does it go? I challenge you to find an article in this whole surrounding, including your own, that does not have oil and gas in it. Your clothes, your glasses, your computers, your shoes, your everything. Watch, clock, and so on and so forth. And it continues. And if it's not a derivative oil and gas, it is powered by an energy that is produced by oil and gas. So the challenge is not the 40% when people start talking about let's buy electrical cars. The challenge is how about the 60%, which is everything else. And on top of that, the challenge is we have to make the change on the go. Nobody here is willing to. And you can't, it's not about willing. You cannot stop life as we know it today, take a pause for the next 5 years to find the solution, introduce the solutions, and make this climate changes. That's not an option because the population is increasing. What are we now? 8 billion? It says by 2050 we will be more than 10 billion. right? So the population is increasing. With the increased population, the requirement or the need for energy continues increasing. So to put a pause is not going to happen. What's innovation? Funny enough, innovation is an invention that could not make money. So what does that mean? We have so many good ideas, but if you cannot bring it into proper operations, that would result in economic upside. Why is economic upside important? To preserve the lifestyle that we live in. So if we cannot find a good idea, which is an invention, and you translate it into an invention, and then you take this invention and it sits on a shelf collecting dust, didn't do nothing. So the task here is on all of us, and mainly on you. The days of older generations handing down a solution is no longer valid. The solution for your time, you're at the prime of your youth to contribute towards this change, effective contribution. The narration needs to change. My narration when I was your age was finish university, get into a job, and for me it was in an oil and gas, work, make money, get the stuff that you want. Were we environmentally cautious? To some extent. But now we see the changes. So when I sit with my children, this is what I tell them. It used to rain during winter. This road used to close because of the high tide. We have none of this anymore. And I'm sure each one of you in your own home country, if you speak to your parents or to the elder people, they will share very similar stories with you. Today in the morning, I heard they said that 2023 is the hottest global year in the recorded history of mankind. And what was it? 2.5 degrees more. Seems very, very small, 2.5. But no, 2.5 Celsius is causing a lot of changes, the ripple effect that is there. Now let's bring it to companies and what's the role of the company. So Siemens Energy, what are we doing at Siemens Energy? Siemens Energy has been around for 175 years. They're well known in oil and gas, and I think you visited some of our offices here. So the Middle East headquarters is in here, and our offices are built green. So conscious, small decisions that we take towards achieving or contributing to this climate fight that we are in. What do? First, we started by ourselves. We are more than 90,000 employees around the world. We are in more than 90 countries, and we have more than, I think, 25 factories plus, so almost 100 facilities. So the decision was, we first start decarbing our own processes. Because I'm not in a position to sit here and tell people to change if the company itself is not taking that effort. It's easy to tell people what to do, but do it yourself and people will follow. Because everyone has a particular argument. They will come up with an argument. I've been in every argument you can think of when it comes to climate change. Oil and gas companies would simply say, fine, what's the alternative? Are you willing to pay the cost of the difference? So these needs systematic, gradual, small changes that will have a lasting effect. Time flies by. You're in your pre-20s, or let's say you're in your teens. Some of you are in their 20s. Very fast you will be in your 40s and 50s. Time just goes by. So how do you want to live your 30s, your 40s, your 50s? Because the struggle is real. We don't have the solutions. Nobody today has a solution. Because again, as I said, change needs to happen on the go. As you move, you make the change. Technologies that were non-existent several years ago, today is mainstream. We cannot live without our cell phones. So this is the mindset that we need to be, that we cannot live if it's not renewable. We cannot live if it's not environmentally friendly and so forth. And you know the famous saying, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. That goes with the communities as well. So the change is from you, by you, and for you, and the next generations. We had a saying growing up in Arabia that we plant seeds and the harvesting is going to take place by the next generations. That narration also is changing because you will be planting the seeds of change and you will be reaping the benefits of this particular change. So, as I said, I'm not here to tell you numbers, figures. You know the numbers and figures better than I. We are in COP28. It shows you the world is converging towards having this story. But the challenge is, how can we take this story to the next level and the next level of actual implementation when it becomes a conscious decision. When I was young, and I was sharing this story previously, we used to be told, and I'm sure some of your teachers can relate to this, keep the lights on before leaving the house because we don't want people to know that the house is empty. Today, what's the message? Switch off the lights because of the consumption of energy. So you see the change, and this is in less than 30 years, from keeping the lights on to keep, let's say, the burglars away, from no, take the conscious decision. But guess what? We have technology to support us today. And who's driving these technologies? The technology is driven by AI, right? Applications, driven by computing power. Your generation will live through the supercomputers, quantum computers. You know more from anybody else about these technologies. And we want your thoughts, we want your inputs, us as an industry, to translate your fresh thoughts into an actual, feasible, reliable, and sustainable solution for this energy and climate fight that we are in. I look forward to talking to you later on. Thank you for this, and enjoy the better weather of the UAE. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How about this for a goal? To be climate neutral in their operations in 2030. That's 7 years from now. They, as a company, have reduced their emissions 45 by 2025. Looking back to 2019, the goal is to reduce the emissions by 46%. Friends, we do not have many countries that are in a place to say that they will be neutral by 2030. We have industry that is leading that way, and we have young people who, hearing this, let's hold the industry that is in your backyard to that same accountability. Let's hold our governments to that same accountability, and let's hold ourselves to that same accountability. Dr. Farhad, thank you for sharing. Now, friends, in order to create a climate solution, we don't just stop at the industry partners, but we need to look at the organizations, the nonprofits, the charities that are out there doing work to help communities adjust, to help communities mitigate, to help communities live in the midst of climate change. And friends, there are no or more prominent organizations than Save the Children. And here to give us an inspiring word before we go into our celebration of student knowledge, followed by an open discussion afterwards, is Caitlin Smith, who leads the campaign work for Save the Children in the Middle East, North Africa, and Eastern Europe. She ensures that children and young people have meaningful voice in campaigns and advocacy across the region, working with groups of young campaigners to find creative ways to speak up on the issues that matter most to them. Caitlin is passionate about ensuring children's rights to have their voices heard in all decisions that affect them, and the need for rights-based approaches to work on climate, gender inequality, gender equality, social justice, and supporting the voices of children affected by conflict. She is now leading the Save the Children global campaign on climate change and economic inequality, Generation Hope, across the region, supporting children to raise their voices, engage in national, regional, and global flora and climate. Caitlin, would you be so kind as to share a few words of inspiration before we get into our student time?
Of course, thank you. Cheers. Hi everyone, I am so delighted to be here and to see you all. As you heard, I'm Caitlin, I work for Save the Children, and one of the main parts of my job is working with young people every day. You are the thing that inspires us, and you have a right to be here. Okay? It's your right to be here, it's your right to be heard, and it is your right for adults to really listen to you. And that means meaningful participation, so not just that we hear you, but that we actually take action for the things that you tell us. So for Save the Children, we've been doing that through Generation Hope, which is a campaign that looks at economic inequality and climate change, and the intersection between those two things. So as part of that, we've been speaking to over 54,000 children in 41 different countries last year, and we've tried to build the campaign based on what children are telling us. So it's not coming from our voices and what we think you want, but it's what you're telling us. And that's what I would love to see within the whole COP space, that you have a space to speak, a space to be in the green zone, but also in negotiations, right? And that's one of the main things that we're trying to push for within the climate space. So I am very excited to hear what you all have to say later today and to talk to you this afternoon. And I'll leave it there so that we can crack on and you can tell us all about what you know. Thanks.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. Wonderful. What a great way to start the day. So this is what's going to happen now. For all of our guests who are here joining us from across the region, your schools, we are so happy to have you here. We have young people from 20 countries who have brought their action projects, their research projects that they are passionate about in their regions. And over there in the workshop area is where you can see that work and interact with them and ask them questions about what they're doing and how they're thinking about it. And then after that, we're going to have kind of an informal, we're all going to gather under the tent, sit on the ground, and have a question and answer time with our two special guests who were here, and just talk about some of the solutions. It was actually, it was Fairgreen. One of the students was like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to talk to them for a little bit instead of just listening. I'm like, that's a great idea. And Dr. Fahad was fine with it, and as was Ms. Smith, and so we're good to go. Friends, I couldn't be more thrilled than to have you here. I just want to say a special thank you to our friends at Extreme Hangout. Their vision for creating space for children is unparalleled, and to host in such a fabulous spot as this, we could not ask for more. So a huge thank you to our friends who are doing that. Let's give everyone. And without further ado, let's look at some. Now it's not just student research. There are e-cards. So we have these cards that you can create and send to government in terms and industry around innovation you would like. We have some art projects that are there. Just head on over there to the tent, and we will get you going. And we'll let our friends at Extreme Hangout head on to the next part of their program.
Thank you very much, Centre for Global Education. And we will be very, very shortly.